It's great having a friend introduce you. He pronounced my name correctly, Joe Cantafio. My name's been screwed up my whole life. Cantafio. I had a football coach call me Cantafio. And I couldn't correct him for 3 games until I finally scored a touchdown. And I finally said, Coach, there's no L in my name. It's Cantafio. When I got into the investment business, we had a new receptionist who called me over the intercom, Joe Cantafio, you have a client here. And everybody in the office started laughing. So I went up to her and I said, it's Cantafio. And she said, Cantafio. I said, just like a can of Taffy O's. She goes, oh, I get it, Cantafio. And about a half hour later, she said, Joe, can of Taffy O's. You have a client here to see you. So 8 letters, 4 vowels, it's going to get screwed up. So I'm just an average Joe. That's the best way to remember. And I've had a pretty interesting life, especially now when I look back. That was filmed 9.5 years ago. And what's happened to me. But my career started musically at a little parish, my grade school, St. Catherine of Siena on the west side of Chicago. One day, Sister Mary Rose, the music teacher, came into our class and said, anybody interested in learning how to play the guitar, instead of going to Friday morning religion class, please raise your hand. Sister! Oh. So I was in love with a girl named Mary Ann Phelan, and she was a year older than me, and I said, Mary Ann, someday I'd like to marry you. And she goes, no, I'm going to marry Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney? So I thought, if I can learn free guitar lessons, I could become Paul McCartney from Mary Ann Phelan. And unfortunately for Mary Ann, I fell in love so much with the guitar that I went on with the guitar. And Mary Ann has a beautiful family in Terre Haute, Indiana now. But the nuns had ulterior motives. They started teaching us religious songs. I thought I was going to learn rock and roll. So the first song I learned was They'll Know We Are Christians by Our Love. I don't know if you remember. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord, we are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord, and we pray that all unity may one day be restored, and they'll know we are Christians by our love, yes, they'll know we are Christians by our love. So we had to do a recital at the end of the school year. And I thought, I'll play They'll Know We Are Christians by Our Love. And so I was watching Laughing. It wasn't a rerun, it was an original. And I started playing the chords, Still They'll Know We Are Christians by Our Love, and just playing the chords, watching TV. And I added a few more chords in there. And I realized I was playing one of the coolest rock and roll songs ever. I'm not going to play We'll Know We Are Christians by Our Love. I'm going to play this song and be the cool guy. So this is the song. And Sister Magdalena was not very happy at the fact I sang a song about a New Orleans whorehouse for my presentation. So right then I knew I was a little different. And we put a rock and roll band together in high school, and we did an oldies thing in 1973 when nobody was playing oldies music. And it stuck. People wanted to hear our band, so we kept getting booked as a band called Jade 50s. And the next thing we know, we get a call from Dick Clark, and we were asked to play backup on Dick Clark's live shows. Can you imagine that? I was 22 years old, playing with Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Jerry Lee Lewis and the Crystals and the Shirelles and Freddie Cannon and on, all these great records. And we were the band. We were hanging out with them. We were eating hot dogs and steaks with them backstage and hanging with Dick Clark. And hey, Joe, come here. Yeah, what do you want, Dick? It was just like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened. And so my life was pretty good. And so years later, we were playing in Chicago. And one night, a guy walked into a bar. And he said, hey, Joe, I love your voice. Would you come down and audition for a jingle? I said, what's a jingle? I thought those were those little cookies that came out at Christmas. I love jingles. And he said, no, they're commercials. Oh, yeah, sure, I'd like to try a commercial. And, well, you may remember my voice on a couple of these. Don't give me that so-so soda, the same old cola. I want a rock and roller. I want a pop. I want a Shasta. I want to taste myself and all the great taste. started singing a lot of TV commercials. I did this one, you might remember this one. You shoot my nerves and you rattle my brains. I'm having a Big Mac attack. Well, the feeling just came and hit me again. I'm having a Big Mac attack. Well, I'm waking, I'm shaking, I'm weak at the knees. For you all beef patty, special salt, lettuce, cheese. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. I endorse that product to this day too, but here's one that's still on. You're my one and only, my creamy deluxe, my only one with butter. You butter me up, you sweet talker, Betty Crocker. Here comes the best part. Dark Dutch, delicious fudge, smoother than chiffon. You spreads me devastation and you leave me on and on. Oh, creamy deluxe, you're the cream of the crop. Frosting with butter, knock my socks off. You sweet talker, Betty Crocker. That's right, I sell frosting, folks. Thank you. So, life was good. I got married. I had 4 children. I got divorced. I got the 4 children, 4 daughters. I raised them. Best experience any single guy can ever have is raising 4 great daughters. Father, I got an annulment, just want you to know, okay. And everything was good. Got into the investment business, was doing really well. We were coming public with our firm in December of 2001. I had 1,250,000 shares of stock. This was it for me. I didn't really, I cared about me. I cared about my kids. I didn't care about other people. Really, I didn't. Until September 11th. When we all remember watching that television. Watching those people on the streets holding the pictures up. Have you seen Bill? Have you seen my son? Have you seen my husband? And you realized a few days later, they weren't going to be saved. They were all dead. And we had lost 3 of my bond traders. And that kind of affected me because one was just a funny guy, Anthony Coladonato, who worked at Cantafio, and he was gone. And so I tried to join the military on September 12th. And the Army told me I was too old. I called the Marine Corps and, I said, hey, look, I can cook, I'm Italian, I'll make, pasta. We'll send some guys up. And the Marine guy said, sir, we don't serve beans in a helmet like we did in World War II. But he said something, he says, why don't, find something that you do and you can give back that way. All Americans are doing whatever they have. He was a major Marine Corps. So he didn't know I played guitar, he didn't know who I was. And so I took the guitar and I started performing at Union Station in Chicago after the stock market closed. I would play from 3:30 to 5:30. All my friends thought I had become homeless, and it was just like, no. So I got a fire boot from my brother-in-law, and I put a sign on it, and we called it Let Freedom Sing. And I started performing, and I went to the website, fdny.org, and at that time they had all 343 pictures of the firefighters that were killed. And I printed those sheets up, and I cut them out. And I put them in my baseball cap, and I pulled out one name, and that firefighter was from Engine Company 55. And they happened to be on Broome Street in Little Italy in New York. So that was my cause. For 1 year, I decided I'm going to dedicate my life. My company's gone. What else am I going to do? Use what's ever left in my investments, and play and raise money and take these guys out of New York and do shows. And on 4th of July, 2002, we were playing in a little town called Naperville, Illinois, and they had an event there called Rib Fest, and 40,000 people go to this every day to this event. And I asked them, please let me perform there on 4th of July. I'm going to bring the New York firefighters, and they were just, so excited. And ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, they all showed up, and it went national. This crazy stockbroker in Chicago had adopted a New York firehouse, And all of a sudden, we were getting calls from all over the country. Could you bring the firefighters here? Could you bring them here? So we were in Sacramento, we were in Oklahoma, we did New York, we did Pennsylvania. It was like a tour. And we'd bring the firefighters on stage, and they would sing, mostly out of key, like American Pie, boy, boy, Miss American Pie. And the audience was they'd be endeared to these guys. They loved them. And by them coming on stage and singing, they were healed. It was like a healing. And I didn't realize what was going on. It was just, we were raising money. We're selling shirts, and they were giving it to the 5 families that they had lost. Well, then the 5 families ended up getting millions of dollars. And these poor firefighters were working, they weren't getting paid. And so it had to end soon. And I was coming up in the end of my year. And I remember flying home from California with Cliff Russell, who you saw in the DVD. And Cliff said, how do I continue to heal when your year's up? I said, well, we'll take it to the troops. Now, honest to God, Bull, I never thought we'd get overseas. I never thought that would happen. And 2 weeks later, we got a call from a lady in my hometown of Barrington who said, we have 3 tickets for you left to come to our event that we're raising a fundraiser for Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastert. And I said, well, how much are the tickets? She goes, $1,500 plate. I said, we don't have, $1,500 to come to a little party. She goes, no, we're giving you the tickets. We want you to bring the New York firefighters. Okay, and I started thinking, oh my God, maybe, divine intervention. So John Olivero comes in from New York and Cliff Russell, and we go to this party. And it's in this big home in Barrington, and we're standing in the back in the living room eating all the cheese puffs. All the Barrington women will never eat anything. Well, they say they don't eat anything. And so we were eating the stuffed mushrooms and all that stuff, and Speaker Hastert goes, Joe Cantafio, come up here. So I walk up there, and he starts talking about our Let Freedom Sing tour. And then he talks about John Olivero. John Olivero was the firefighter that chopped the gate open at Ground Zero in the afternoon of September 11th. And if you remember, the New York police officers actually started drawing their guns because these guys are the firefighters. John said, you're gonna kill us, hasn't there been enough murder today? We wanna go in there and find our brothers. So the gate swung open, and that's when all the firefighters came in. Cliff Russell, his brother Stephen was killed, and by the second day when Stephen hadn't come home, Cliff, who kind of looks like his brother, went to Engine 55, and with the help of the firefighters, put on his brother's uniform and went to work as if he was his brother, and dug and recovered the bodies of 23 New York firefighters until his brother's body was eventually recovered in October. So we grab Hastert. I go to Cliff. I said, he's using us for a photo op. Let's use him. So I said, why don't you send us overseas to entertain the troops? And he goes, what the hell, what are you talking about? That's a war zone. I said, what? Bob Hope did it in World War II. He did it in Vietnam. Send us over. I'll put a band together. So we put together the 101st Rock Division. We were originally called the Fighting 101st Rock Division, but John Brandt said, who are we fighting? So we, okay, we're not fighting anybody. We're the 101st Rock Division. And one of the songs that we learned on that tour is still one of my favorite songs, and I'd like to do this one for you right now. It's called An American Soldier, but Toby Keith wrote the song. He uses the word soldier as the universal term for military. So I know there's a lot of airmen here. Don't start freaking out on me. This is you too. I'm just trying to be a father, raise a daughter and a son, be a lover to their mother, from everything to everyone, up and at 'em bright and early. I'm all business in my suit. Hey, I'm dressed up for success, from my head down to my boots. I don't do it for the money, there's bills that I can't pay. I don't do it for the glory, I just do it anyway. Providing for our future is my responsibility. Hey, I'm real good under pressure, being all that I can be. And I can't call in sick on Monday when the weekend's been too strong. I just work straight through the holidays, and sometimes all night long. You can bet that I'll stand ready when the wolf growls at the door. Hey, I'm solid, hey, I'm steady, hey, I'm true down to the core. And I will always do my duty, no matter what the price. I've counted up the cost, I know the sacrifice, and I don't want to die for you, but if dying's asked of me, I'll bear that cross with honor. It's freedom, don't come free. I'm an American soldier, an American. Beside my brothers and my sisters, I will proudly take a stand. When liberty's in jeopardy, I will always do what's right. Oh, I'm out here on the front line, sleep in peace tonight. American soldier. I will probably take a stand. When liberty's in jeopardy, I will always do what's right. Oh, I'm out here on the front line, sleep in peace tonight. American soldier, I'm an American, an American. Thank you. Thank you. So, they sent us overseas. We took on, we played a month. It's the longest USO show to this date in this war to go overseas. We argued with the Pentagon because we were bringing the brother of a New York firefighter whose brother had been killed, and they said, no, we can't put you on the front line. And we started yelling and got to the Pentagon, and I remember Captain Rios called us and said, well, you pissed somebody off because you wanted the front line, you got them, you got every place. And good, that's what we wanted. I'm thinking if a troop can take it for a year, sometimes those Army guys were there a year and a half, we can handle one day at their fort and camp and you know, sleep in a tent. It was fun for us. So we headed over there. I met my friend Bull. First time I knew I had a buddy. You took us into the war room and you let us watch sorties, which was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then everybody in your base took us out to see the firehouse, and they had built a September 11th memorial, and Cliff Russell saw his brother's name on it, and then we rocked you guys that night. That was fun. We got to sit in a U-2 spy plane. I mean, come on. There's guys in the base that haven't sat in that, and because we're entertainers and people think we're special, we got to do all that stuff. But that's what kind of changed me. I got home, and I thought, God, we could have done so much more. I met the greatest people I've ever met on that tour. I met Americans who were sacrificing for themselves, for us. I always maintain that my daughters and I sleep in peace every night because of the sacrifice that our troops make. And it started affecting me, and out of the blue I get a call from a guy named Tony Weber. And he builds museums, and he's out of Houston, Texas, and he said, I'd like to get your best idea on a museum. And my first thing was, look, I don't know anything about mummies and dinosaurs. You don't want to talk to me. And he said, no, museum's much more than mummies and dinosaurs. It's a concept, it's an idea. I'd like to come to Chicago and just talk with you. So we flew in about 2 weeks later, and we started at lunch, and we finished at dinner, and actually they kicked us out of this place at about 10 o'clock at night. We had napkins full of ideas, and that turned out to be the book that's on your table that I'd like you all to take home. It's called the National Veterans Museum. Shortly after that, my cousin Ryan, who joined the Marine Corps on September 11th, paid the ultimate price for freedom. And we ended up having the same heartbreak in our family that the Russells had on September 11th. And Ryan joined the Marine Corps. Thanksgiving night, he was killed in action in 2004. And I went to his funeral up in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. And the Marine funeral was the saddest, most beautiful funeral I'd ever been to. And I came home and I started writing a song. And decided that the song is going to be inspired by Ryan, but dedicated to every American who's paid the ultimate price for our freedom since the Revolutionary War. It's called Brave Warrior. Brave warrior, your battles are over. It's time to rest your head. Brave warrior, lay down in the clover. The earth is now your bed. Brave warrior, a flag is now wrapped around you. Your grateful nation mourns. Now rest in peace and sleep for the ages in the place where you were born. Brave warrior, your stay was so short. Now it's time to say goodbye. Sweet warrior, mount your faithful steed as you ride off in the sky. A folded flag is all that's left to remind us of why you lived and died. Brave warrior, they've all come to see you. They've come to say goodbye. When the poppies fade and the cold winds blow and the graves are covered in the falling snow, you will warm our hearts with the memory of your love, of your love. Brave warrior, evening is falling, the fields are empty and cold. Sweet warrior, your star shining bright, your spirit of peace we now hold. Brave warrior, your ship finds its harbor where the water meets the sky. And I will think of you as I breathe my freedom with a teardrop in my eye. Sweet warrior, we'll never forget you. Good soldiers never die. Good soldiers never die. Your memory will never die. Ryan Joseph Cantafio, thank you. U.S. Marine, thank you. Thank you very much. So, we have this idea, we're going to build a museum. We started out in San Antonio. Governor Perry said he was going to help me, and then he said he was going to try something that might even help us even more. And I said, the guy's running for president. They go, no, he's not. I said, yes, he is. What else is he going to do that's going to help us more? He's going to run for president. This is going to take 20 years. And he ran for president, and I decided to move it and do a little research. And I found out that the Chicago area there are more retired veterans, 6 million, in that area than in any other 200-mile radius anywhere in the U.S. People go, no, Texas has more. Texas has 1.7 million veterans. But if you look at the Chicago area, you got Milwaukee 60 miles away, you got Madison, Wisconsin, you have the Indiana, northern Indiana quadrant, you have St. Louis, you have Iowa, Nebraska. There's a lot of veterans. More importantly, to be successful with the museum, you need school kids. And we have 7.7 million school children within 150 miles. So I'm cha-ching, looking at day trips, saying I think we could make this happen. And I just need the land, and I went to the town of Hoffman Estates after doing my Google Earth search and finding big pieces of empty land off a tollway, which was pretty darn hard, but we found it. We found the landowner who loved the idea. And then we started putting our board of directors together, and we have some great, we have 3-star Air Force, Dick Newton, and we have 2-star Air Force, Ann Harrell. We have 3-star Army, General Randy Rigby. We have 3-star Coast Guard, Jim Card. 2-star Navy, great friend of mine, Mike Carlos Johnson. We have the Master Chief Petty Officer, the 11th of the Navy, in Joe Campa. We have Marine Carlton Kent, who was the 16th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. We just brought in Skip Bowen, who was I believe he's the 14th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard. And we needed a chairman, and we needed a kick-ass chairman. And I had done some events for this gentleman, and so I put out a call to General James Conway, the Commandant of the Marine Corps. And he's like, well, let me look up and see where the current National Veterans Museum is, and I'll call you back. And he called back, he goes, I couldn't believe it. There's no National Veterans Museum anywhere. I said, General, come to Chicago. Let me show you. Let me meet the team. I want you to see the city. We're going to put it in. The mayor wants to meet you. Meet the great. I think we put together the greatest building team you can. We have they're all listed in that book. And General Conway came in, and his email to me is like, all right, I just checked with my wife. I raised my right hand. I'll sign in the dotted line. You got yourself a chairman of the board. And so I remember the one thing that Joe and Bull said is, when you come here, don't ask for money. And I said, you're going to love this. I don't need money. I've been working 5 years with a group of people who are very tied in with the wealth of the world. And every time I'd come out with a new version of the book, they'd say, well, you need another board member. You need to get a letter from a politician. You need to get the city's approval. You need this. Whatever they would ask for, I would get. And last August, we finally got our 501c3 letter. And they said, all right, we have an appointment we want to make for you. We're going to start with a phone conversation. And they put Mr. Big on the phone. That's what we'll call him, because he wants to remain anonymous. And he heard the whole thing. He read the PDF. He says, all right, I want to fly to Chicago to meet you and see everything. And 10 days later, he showed up in Chicago, and the gentleman who I have as my president, former Vietnam vet and investment guru, met with him in Chicago, and we were hoping to get $50 million to start the land purchase and get the museum underway. And after the presentation, he said, all right, I'll do it. I said, okay, you'll do the $50 million? He goes, no, I'll do the whole thing, whatever it takes. So here's a letter of intent for $600 million. And of course, once he did that, I thought, boy, it could even be better than $600 million. So he's now upped us up to $2 billion. So we're buying 450 acres, 9 buildings, a national cemetery. We were just in General Shinseki's office on Good Friday. If you look at the grounds, that was when it was 200 acres. So everything in white around it is now going to be our land. The first money's coming this week. And so I told Bull and I told Joe, I need artifacts. I need artifacts. We need artifacts. So this morning, Bull took us over and we met with General Moore. And he said, we got artifacts. I said, you gotta have artifacts, basements. Every air base, every army base, they have artifacts everywhere. And he did. He said, no, we got artifacts. We got stuff we're never going to use. That's just great stuff. If you think of the history of the Air Force, the first time the Air Force, the Army Air Corps, when the airplane finally got an airplane, they were hand-dropping bombs on Pancho Villa. That was the first time. And he said, we got some of that stuff. So I was like, okay. One of the coolest artifacts that we're going to pick up next week, General Conway and I fly to, well, we can't fly into this town. We have to drive 3 hours once we get to Knoxville, Tennessee, to Pall Mall, Tennessee, to the home of Alvin C. York, Sergeant York, to meet with his son, Andrew Jackson York, and his daughter, Betsy Ross York. They all have names like that. I can't wait to meet them. And we are going to get Alvin C. York's Congressional Medal of Honor and his weapon and his uniform. We're now in touch with the Doolittle Raiders family. Can you believe that the World War II Museum said, no, we don't want those artifacts? The Doolittle Raiders, the turning point of World War II, the first time we smacked Japan in the mouth. No, we don't have room. I just said, we'll create a wing for the Doolittle Raiders, please. So we're meeting with them. All the families have all the artifacts. So my question to you is, medals, uniforms, letters, unique items. Our museum is not just going to be artifacts. We have 3D and 4D theaters, holograms, 40 immersive displays, and then 3 buildings called Land, Air, and Sea, where you're going to be able to see all the equipment. And instead of just lining equipment up on linoleum floors, we're going to create, for example, we're going to get a German Panzer, we're going to surround it with 3 Shermans, and now we're going to create the Ardennes Forest Battle of the Bulge. And you're going to walk onto Iwo Jima, you're going to walk onto Omaha Beach. That's the way we want to teach history. The good thing about it is we're not going to the government for money. And the government's not going to teach the history. Soldiers are. Military's going to teach history. Yes. And you know, I never served. I served with a guitar. That doesn't count. The worst thing that happened to me is I broke a G string. That was it. And it's the service of our military. It's the inspiration. And I could have done so much more. This is what it is. This is what we're going to do. I'm really excited. We have a whole team of people, some veterans, some not veterans, who are patriots, who want to help. And I'm here asking you for your help. Or if you know somebody, please, everybody take a book, take it home. I have cards with my cell phone on it with me right now. If you think of somebody, run into somebody 2 years down the line and they have a World War I helmet, something, we're looking for it. We need artifacts to tell the story from the Revolutionary War all the way to the future. I'd like to do one more song for you, and I will conclude and have some of that great dessert, if it's still out there. If tomorrow all the things were gone that I worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause our flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. Well, there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Las Vegas down to Houston, from New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget those men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. No, there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. Well, there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the